The man specialized in restoring old videotapes. To him, every vintage tape was like a work of art. One day, Jack received a package containing an old videotape along with a note. The message asked Jack to help restore the tape, but since it contained confidential footage, he was instructed not to make any copies. Jack spent an entire day restoring the tape. Although the employer had specified that he couldn't make copies, they hadn't said anything about not watching it. So Jack played the tape. Through a conversation between two girls on the tape, he learned that one of them was planning to visit a place called Wesser Apartments. Jack did some online research and found out that the building had been severely damaged by a fire many years ago and was now in ruins. The next day, Jack was invited by the employer to help restore a batch of videotapes that had been damaged in that same 1994 fire. The only condition was that he had to work at a secluded estate, and he was the only one allowed to go. Everything needed to remain confidential. The employer also offered a substantial payment, even mentioning that Jack's father had died in that fire. Hearing that the employer had dug into his personal life, Jack became irritated and left in frustration. Back home, Jack decided to look through the viewing history of the tape he had restored earlier. When he saw a photo on the wall in the background, a woman with a dog, he was stunned. The dog in the picture was one he had owned as a child. It even wore the same distinctive red collar that Jack had saved up for a long time to buy. Determined to uncover the truth, Jack decided to accept the employer's offer. They arrived at a remote villa in the countryside, where the employer informed Jack that the house had no internet or cell service, ensuring that he could focus solely on restoring the tapes. After the employer left, Jack quickly began repairing the damaged tapes. Once he had restored one, he decided to watch it. The woman in the video was named Anna, a PhD student who wanted to research the history of Wesser Apartments. The building superintendent arranged a room for Anna and, knowing she was there for an interview, gave her a special warning before leaving: never go to the 6th floor. But why was the 6th floor off limits? The woman was woken up in the middle of the night by the sound of music. She decided to take her video camera to investigate. As she slowly approached the air vent, she pointed the camera inside. Meanwhile, Jack increased the volume on the footage, and suddenly, a piercing sound hit him, making his scalp tingle. The video abruptly cut off. When Jack resumed watching the footage, it was already the next day. Anna had planned to interview the tenants one by one, but she was met with refusals at every door. Eventually, she came across a little girl named Jenny. Jenny told Anna that she ran errands around the apartment. She would do any odd jobs for a fee. So, Anna paid Jenny to introduce her to some residents for interviews. Their first stop was a musician named Mary. During the interview, Mary played one of her new compositions. Anna immediately recognized the music, saying it was the same tune she had heard the night before. Mary didn't respond. As Anna continued listening, she suddenly began to feel very sick, even collapsing onto the floor. The first tape, cut off at that moment. Jack hurriedly began repairing the second tape. As the footage played, Anna was back in Jenny's room, now feeling better. Anna took the opportunity to interview Jenny as well. Jenny seemed like she had something secretive to share, but before she could speak, she suddenly looked as if she had seen something terrifying. The footage became distorted, displaying strange, unsettling images. In the blurry video, it seemed like a shadowy figure was slowly approaching, and then, out of nowhere, a large, horrifying face lunged at the camera. Jack was terrified, completely rattled by what he saw. When he played the footage again, the terrifying scene was gone, and Jenny appeared normal once more. She was about to tell Anna something important, but the video abruptly switched to a different scene. Anna was now anxiously asking the apartment's superintendent where they had taken Jenny. As more people appeared in the footage, they told Anna to come with them. Clearly unwilling, Anna pleaded for help into the camera, but the scene left Jack utterly confused. Then, something completely unexpected happened. Jack saw his father, who had been dead for years, appear in the footage. Jack was in shock, repeatedly rewinding the video to see his father's image. Little did he know, all of his actions were being watched by someone else. A woman woke up abruptly in the cabin of a ship, noticing distinct red marks around her wrists, as if they had been tightly bound. Beside her lay a newspaper featuring a story from 4 months ago about a ship named Prometheus that had mysteriously disappeared. Anna got up and found a letter under a book on the desk. It was from her brother Mark. He wrote that he had uncovered the truth about their father's actions and urged her to meet him in New York, specifically warning her not to trust anyone. When she entered the ship's luxurious dining room, it was already filled with a variety of passengers. Anna found an empty seat and sat down. Shortly after, a woman named Mary sat beside her. Through their conversation, it became clear that Anna was a doctor specializing in brain research. Mary started complaining about the other passengers around them, At that moment, a man from the lower class cabins barged in, frantically asking if there was a doctor who could help his sister. The ship had a strict class system, and people from the lower cabins were not allowed in the upper areas. 2 crew members dragged the man away, but Anna, unable to bear it, followed him. Once she arrived below deck, she found a pregnant woman in severe pain. Unsure of the cause, Anna listened carefully through a cup and determined that the baby was likely tangled in the umbilical cord. She assured the woman that she could manually reposition the baby, though it would be painful. The man who had come to the upper deck to seek help thanked her. After washing her hands and preparing to leave, a young girl approached Anna, saying that she wanted to become just like her one day. The girl touched Anna's stomach and asked if she had any children. Anna responded that she couldn't have children. Suddenly, a series of fragmented memories flashed through her mind. The man returned and gave her a cross necklace as a token of gratitude. At that moment, Anna began to feel short of breath and rushed to the deck, pulling out a pendant from around her neck. The captain approached her and warned her that upper-class passengers were not allowed to go below deck and that she should follow the rules. Suddenly, 2 crew members arrived, reporting that for the past 20 minutes, they had been receiving the same radio signal repeatedly. It might be coming from the missing Prometheus ship. They found the Prometheus, the ship that had been missing for 4 months. A crew member suggested they return to their original course and contact the company once they had a signal again, but the captain refused. He ordered them to lower a lifeboat and selected a few people to go with him. Anna volunteered, saying she was a doctor and could help. As they passed through the cabins, they encountered the Carl brothers. Seeing that Carl was dressed as a priest, the captain invited him to join them, reasoning that after 4 months, it was unlikely anyone on the Prometheus had survived, and having a priest would be prudent. The captain told one of the crew members that if they didn't return within an hour, they should send for help. As they boarded the Prometheus, the crew remaining on the original ship noticed that as soon as the captain stepped aboard the Prometheus, the signal they had been receiving suddenly stopped. Could it be that the people on the Prometheus, saw the rescue team and turned off their signal? Back on the Prometheus, the captain's group searched for survivors, but the ship looked like a total wreck, as if it had been missing for much longer than 4 months. The captain found a bag on the ground and discreetly pocketed it. When they reached the bridge, things became even stranger. The telegraph machine was destroyed, so how had it been sending coordinates earlier? Meanwhile, a mysterious figure boarded the original ship. Back on the Prometheus, the captain's group explored the main hall. Anna spotted a green beetle on the floor and followed it to a cabinet. A metal rod was wedged into the cabinet, preventing it from being opened. Suddenly, there was a knocking sound from inside. When Anna opened the cabinet, she found a young boy inside. The boy walked up to Anna without saying a word. At the same time, the mysterious figure on the original ship glanced at Anna's room, number 1011. He took a green beetle from his pocket and let it crawl into room 1013 before opening the door and entering. Back on the Prometheus, the boy unwrapped a cloth bundle and handed Anna a pyramid-shaped object. What could this object mean, and how was it all connected? The moment the white sheet was pulled back, the woman's body appeared lifelike. The thought of the usually untouchable movie star now lying completely exposed right before them stirred a dark and sinister impulse in their minds. After some discussion, the 3 men decided to violate the unconscious actress. Jack, deranged and without hesitation, stepped up first, while Tony and Carl waited in the bathroom. 3 seconds later, Jack returned, looking satisfied. Tony then volunteered to go next, but just a few seconds later, a sudden scream echoed through the room. They turned to see Mary, the actress, alive but extremely weak, barely able to move or speak. Carl, showing a rare shred of kindness, quickly brought her a glass of water and helped her drink. He also found some clothes to cover her. Meanwhile, the other 2 stood silently in the corner, guilt and fear etched across their faces. Mary was fully aware of the humiliation inflicted upon her by Tony and Jack. They knew that if Mary survived, their lives would be over. Carl, wanting to save her, was immediately stopped by Tony, who insisted they should kill her to silence her forever, erasing any evidence of what had happened. Just as they were debating, a noise came from outside the room, forcing them to hide. Tony quickly covered Mary with the white sheet again and turned off the lights. The door swung open and it was a caretaker delivering another body. Mary realized this was her chance to seek help. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Desperate, she opened her mouth wide and gasped for air, hoping the man would notice. The caretaker, however, seemed oblivious and walked toward her, but only to adjust the cart. Mary didn't know he was wearing headphones and listening to music, completely unaware of her struggle. With all her remaining strength, Mary managed to move her fingers, tugging at the white sheet until one of her eyes was exposed. She watched in despair as the caretaker prepared to leave. She stared helplessly as the man turned off the lights without looking back, missing her only chance to be saved. Now, Mary's last hope was Carl. Seeing the desperation in her eyes, Carl promised her he would help her escape. He began to push her toward the door, determined to get her out. But just as he took the first step, tragedy struck. Who would have thought that the corpse would unexpectedly awaken, while the living would meet an untimely death? The 2 men sat on the floor, completely panicked. At this point, Tony was already terrified and unsure what to do. Jack, however, dragged Tony outside the room and, after a round of manipulative persuasion, managed to make Tony reluctantly agree to go along with his plan. Their first priority was to deal with Mary. What they didn't realize was that during their conversation, Mary had secretly taken Carl's phone from his pocket. Mary told them she had called her father, but she didn't reveal what had happened. She only told him that she had woken up. Her father assured her that he would send someone to find her. Jack, staring at the call log on the phone, confirmed that Mary had indeed made a call. Now, they dared not harm Mary. All they could do was hope that she wouldn't reveal the truth. They wheeled Mary out of the morgue, and for the first time, she felt a sense of relief. But just then, the phone rang. It was Mary's father calling. Mary was about to scream for help when Jack quickly covered her mouth. It turned out that the original call had never actually gone through. Realizing they had been tricked, they pushed Mary back into the room. Jack instructed Tony to keep an eye on her while he went to find something to deal with Carl's body. After Jack left, Tony also stepped out to clean up the blood. Mary knew this was her chance. She tore off the tape covering her mouth and managed to untie the ropes around her feet. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't free her hands. She mustered all her strength to stand, but as soon as she tried to walk, her legs gave out. She was too weak to stand. Determined, she began crawling toward the door like a caterpillar, inch by inch. After what felt like an eternity, she finally made it through the first door. Meanwhile, Tony was still cleaning up in the morgue. When Jack returned, they realized Mary had escaped and immediately split up to search for her. By this time, Mary had managed to free her hands. She slowly steadied herself against the wall and stood up. At last, she spotted an elevator, but her strength was nearly gone. She pushed herself to crawl toward it with everything she had left. The moment she made it into the elevator, a wave of relief washed over her. But just as the doors began to close, a giant hand suddenly reached in.